Afternoon. It is really windy today. We're getting 50-mile-an-hour gusts. This means over at Castle Hewson that probably a few big trees are going to get blown over. I've done some time lapse of the wind, but what happens is it dies way down and then it picks up. You get these sudden gusts that are pretty dangerous. There's a lot of force and power behind the wind there. Over on the tower, my dad's taken the Pettibone or the Lodal, and the wind is coming out of the west, and so he has supporting the tower with the boom all the way extended. Sometimes trees don't get blown over. Other times, a bunch of trees get blown over. And that's just more milling wood and more firewood. So let's see. We want to avoid wind chaff. I noticed last night when I started the quad, it seemed like battery was struggling a little bit, and I put in a new battery a couple years ago, so we'll see what happens today. In fact, let's check that out right now. I'll go grab the key. I put the key in my work pants. Yeah, it's kind of messy in here. Hear that? Hear that? It's the sounds of the wind. It's spooky. Like a tin whistle. Or a midget banshee. I mean, if you let your mind and your imagination start to mess with you, it can get really scary at night. Force of the wind. We're so close to the Atlantic right now. This is just what happens. That's why they call it the wild coast of Ireland. Check it. Whoa. Well, let's see what goes on with the quad. Oh. I got it in low. There we go. Run. Well, that seems okay. Let that run for a little bit. Oh, man. Woo. Cool, too. Yeah. Yep, it's out of the southwest. Well, there's a little bit of... So at nighttime, I go for a long walk with my headlamp, something that would just scare the living daylights. I mean, it's nighttime. It just scares the bejesus out of people who are not used to a walk like that, because it gets really muddy and super spooky, kind of like Blair Witch Project. And it's about a mile-long walk. I'm gonna go inside. Mile-long walk. I follow the stream through spooky, scary. I get it on Halloween too. Laurel forests that feel like the jungle. And then I go up around through a valley or forest I call Hidden Valley, where I did some work earlier this year. And I noticed some small trees that had gotten blown over. I was going to do a little bit of work out by the Rath, which is an old ancient ring fort. And my attempt to go do that. A little bit dangerous being out in the forest without a hard hat A lot of widow makers out there, but yeah, maybe we'll take a gamble. I don't recommend anybody do that, to go out in the forest and do work without a hard hat, but yeah, it's not a responsible thing to do. But anyway, when I'm on these walks at night, you can really, there's something in the brain called the amygdala that can fire up, that injects extreme amounts of fear. It's for self-preservational reasons. But when you're out at night and start thinking about scary things, like, for instance, the end of sleepaway camp, the look on the girl's face. I allowed myself to think of that the other night, and I had to just shut it off. It was too scary. Or the end of the Blair Witch Project, where they're running through the house, the old scary house, and they go down to the basement, and the lady who's looking for, the girl who's looking for her friend, sees him, but just his shoulders. And boom, who knows what happened, but she drops the camera, probably got hit in the back of the head. I'll think of that, like seeing somebody just not looking at me, but just their back staring away from me. Oh boy, I'll get the amygdala flare up, just waiting for like a jump scare. And just take a breath and wipe it away. So anyway, I do this every night, and because it'd be raining during the daytime, and then it clears up at night, and it's really crisp and cool, and you can see all the stars. And there's been a half moon recently. It's spectacular night walks. Maybe I'll whip out the camera on one of these. I mean, not be able to. It'll be like the Blair Witch, actually. All right. The quad has been running long enough. I'm gonna turn it off, and we'll go out and do some stuff.